all the unique characters,
I do let him bang. Yeah, I'm saying? Like, yeah, I'm a legend, man. I'm building my legacy.
all the stories and perspectives featured weekly.
I wasn't fully committed to that choke, and I kind of sunk into it, started squeezing tighter, and I kind of heard him gurgle a little bit. I was like, oh.
And all the combat sports you could ask for in the best state in the U.S.
Like I said, Ohio versus the world. It's going to happen for sure. Watch out.
It'll be cool, man. I'm not worried about it. I'm going to show them why the Ohio MMA scene is, in my opinion, one of the best MMA scenes in the country.
This is Forged in OH.
IO.
OH.
IO.
OH.
IO.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 86 of Forged in Ohio. My name is Jake Murren, and I'm the host of the podcast. I'm really excited about today's episode of the show. I've been in contact with this fighter for a few weeks now. He's 3-1 as an amateur mixed martial artist, with all three of those wins coming this calendar year inside the distance. He's a breakout star in the Ohio MMA amateur scene, and now he's lined up for an amateur title fight at Cage Thunder 28 fight night in the Flats. It's the one and only Cody the Warrior Wilson. Thanks for coming on the show, Cody, and welcome on in to Forged in Ohio.
Yeah, thanks for finally having me on, Jake. It's definitely an honor.
Yeah, of course, man. It's a pleasure to welcome you here onto Forged in Ohio, and there is a ton to talk about. So I think it makes sense to kind of go in chronological order through your career. It all started for you in 2015, actually, before returning to competition this year. I'm sure you get asked about that 9-year layoff a lot, but why such a long gap between fights number 1 and fight number 2?
I do. So I think what happened was I just, fresh out of high school wrestling, kind of like the other interview I did. So I definitely took that fight when I shouldn't have. I probably wasn't ready, but he ended up having a good pro career also, the guy that did beat me. I think he went 5-2 as a pro. So, I mean, I still didn't do terrible. But after that, I really realized that I just needed to, if I want to compete with these guys, I got to get a lot stronger. I got to really, because I was, I think I was maybe 120 pounds back when I took that first fight. I don't even know what weight class it was, but definitely I just knew in my head that I know I had it in me to be a good fighter. And I think I just had to put in that time and really get my strength up and then find a good gym like I did with Strong Style and really get to the level I am now.
Do you even recognize, or would you even recognize, that 2015 version of Cody Wilson who made his MMA debut?
100% not. I was still like, I wasn't scared or anything. I definitely had the mentality like I don't care who it was or how long they were trained, and even if I didn't really train much, I still was going to go in there and do the best I could, which I did, but it didn't last long. But definitely wouldn't recognize that version of me. I think it's definitely see a huge difference. I wish I had the video of that actually from way back when. And the funny thing is, actually, I was on Jarrell Hodges' card on that first one, and now I'll be winning the belt on the same card where he's the main event, so it makes it even better.
Yeah, of course. So what actually encouraged you to come back in 2024 and start fighting again?
So I saw the sign for Strong Style in Broadview Heights, the new location that they have. So I saw the sign and I was like, oh, I heard a lot about them. So I came in, started getting into jiu-jitsu because I never really did too much of that, but really started to love it. And then I was meeting with college wrestlers, and I never went to college for wrestling. I was just a really good high school wrestler. And I was really competing with these guys, like starting to really get the jiu-jitsu and grasp it, and then being able to like work around these college wrestlers. I'm like, okay, this might be time to kind of get back into it. Because I was doing a lot of cage grappling, a lot of competitions, and I was really doing good, getting gold medals. And I was just like, okay, it might be time to fight again.
Would your career look any different if you won your amateur debut in 2015? Maybe you're satisfied and don't make this 2024 comeback, or maybe you become super active back then 9 years ago in 2025 or in 2015.
I knew I had a lot of work back then anyway. If I would have won, I mean, eventually I would have lost with the lack of training that I did. I just kind of jumped right into it. But I feel like if I would have won that first one, maybe I would have maybe thought of it a little different. But back then I was kind of getting in a lot of trouble and not really had my mind focused on fighting like I do now. Now my head's all in it with the fighting and work. So definitely a better headspace than I was back when I was 18, 19 years old.
This run you've had in 2024, 3 fights, 3 wins inside the distance, and now a title fight booked next. Is any of what you've been able to accomplish this year been a surprise to you, or did you expect all of this?
No, every fight went exactly how I thought. Everything I worked in training leading up to each fight is exactly what I ended up hitting in the fight and ending the fight with. So like the first fight with Tevin, that whole sequence I got onto him with, that I worked that still every day. Like that's one of my main sequences that I do. But then in the second fight, I kept working that crucifix, and I kept telling everyone that's the move. That's what I'm gonna get, and ended up didn't finishing him with that, but still was a big part of the fight. I think that really kind of made him see like it was done. It kind of broke him, I think.
So, after that 9 year layoff, you returned in February of this year. What was the mindset making the return to MMA? Were you just wanting to see what you were capable of, maybe right the wrong of the debut, or were you actually looking to make a serious run at this?
No, I knew from that first one before I took it, I knew it was going to be a serious run, and I think I've shown that too.
Yeah, you absolutely have, man. Going into that fight in February, were there maybe extra nerves given the layoff and perhaps uncertainty with what you could do in there? What were the emotions like going into that first one back in February?
I mean, maybe not too many nerves, I guess, because I mean, I was doing a couple cage grappling, and it's like the same. It was almost like an MMA fight. You just couldn't punch, but still, it brought me into that same mentality. And I know working with the strong style guys, I work with the best in Ohio, so it's really good on the mind that I'm working with the best in Ohio. There's not really anyone that could step in front of me that's going to really give me any worry.
Talking with Cody, the Warrior Wilson here on Forged in Ohio. So you win that fight in February and you go on to win a fight at Cage Thunder 27 last month, both of which came via triangle choke. What does your confidence look like after picking up 2 submission wins to start what's been a very successful year for you?
Yeah, it gives me a lot of confidence, especially since the last fight in OKC or OCL, I was able to actually get a TKO win instead of just showing that all I have is jiu-jitsu and all I got to do is submit these guys. I can actually pack a punch and actually finish a fight other ways too instead of just submissions.
Yeah, so after that Cage Thunder 27 card, it kind of gets interesting, your story does, because I wanted to get you on the show after the win at Cage Thunder 27, but I couldn't because you fought 28 days later at Ohio Combat League 30. What was that like taking 2 fights in the same month?
I actually signed the contract for that third one before the other one even started. So I guess I kind of knew in my head that even if I took a little damage, I'd be fine before that last fight. But I didn't take any damage in that second fight, and I didn't take any damage in the third fight either. So I'm definitely feeling great going into next month also. But I definitely feel accomplished that I was able to get 2 fights in the same month, kind of do something that no other fighter really does all the time, and still pick up 2 wins.
Was there any like worry or concern taking the fight at Cage Thunder 27, knowing that you had a fight booked for OCL 30 later on in the month? Maybe, booking a fight before another one, something could happen there.
Yeah, I knew there's a lot of rules, but I knew how the fight was gonna go, and I didn't have too many worries. Even if I was to get hurt, I would do what I had to do and still be healthy enough for that fight.
So I know after having talking to a bunch of fighters, I know after a fight, after a win, they like to go out and celebrate rather than going right back to work and getting back in there for another training camp for another fight. For you, you had 28 days in between fights. Was that kind of an exhausting period of your life, having to take 2 fights within a 28-day period?
No, after the second fight, I still had my fun. Still got to hang out with friends and celebrate the win, but then that next Monday it was still right back to it, mindset on the next opponent, even though there was a little confusion on if he was going to stay in the fight or not, but then it ended up working out. But so that was kind of something that got to me a little bit, because then the fight got canceled, thought everything was good, and kind of was like, okay, I'm not fighting anymore, and then it completely changed, and then I had to get back into that mindset.
From fighting to training to weight cutting, how does the body hold up when it comes to staying that active?
So I'm not too crazy with the weight cutting, and I walk around about 55, so 45 is pretty easy for me to get to. But seemed like it was a little more challenging at the end of June than it was the beginning of June. It seemed really easy, even though my opponent didn't make weight and it didn't matter anyway. But I feel like making the 45 was a little harder at the end of the month, but my body was still able to do it. It's probably not something I would want to do all the time, but I was able to make it happen.
So is it easy for you to stay around 155, or do you have to stay super disciplined to stay at that weight all the time?
I mean, I make good decisions when I'm eating, all that stuff. I'm not too crazy on counting calories or any of that, but I've never been above 160. When I'm in between fights, I'm always in the gym working out, kind of bulk eating a little bit, but I stay disciplined with how I do things.
Is there a certain type of food that you let yourself indulge in, or maybe after a big win you let you cheat on a little bit?
Yeah, a little bit. I kind of have a sweet tooth sometimes, so brownies, cakes, but I try to keep that to a minimum if I can. But pizza always gets you. That's one thing. When you're weight cutting, you realize how much you miss certain foods, and then that's always the first thing I want after a fight. Just order myself a pizza, get some beer, and we'll celebrate the win.
Yeah, fair enough, man. So the second fight you took in June, you won via second round KO at Ohio Combat League 30. You kind of already mentioned it, but how did it feel picking up your first career win via knockout?
It's definitely was something I was looking to do. I even told David that he asked me what my prediction would be for that fight, and I told him it would be either a second round submission or really looking for the TKO, and then that's how it played out. But it definitely let me show that I can actually do some damage to these guys and not just be a threat on the ground.
You mentioned how all three of your fights this year have kind of played out how you thought they would. How do these predictions come to mind? Is it mainly what you're doing and what you're focused on in the gym and what you want to accomplish? Maybe you factor in a little bit of what your opponent has to offer. How do you come up with these predictions, I guess, that actually come to fruition in these bouts?
I think it's just what I'm training that week in the gym. When I'm training with these guys and I'm hitting something, maybe I'm just like, okay, this could if I'm hitting it on all these guys, I'm thinking if I just keep at it, like if I'm doing one thing good, I'll keep at it those next couple weeks, and then I'm just able to hit it like it's second nature when it comes to the live in the cage.
So you have two submissions and a knockout this year. Do you have a favorite performance of the three fights and wins you've had this year in 2024 so far?
So I think my favorite performance is the second one at Cage Thunder 27. I think that one I watched it back a couple times. I think I should have got a TKO in that one maybe, but ended up not working out that way. But I think all in all, I kind of showed that more well-roundedness. I was more well-rounded in that fight than I was the other two. I feel like I might have been a little reserved in the first one, maybe even the third, even a little bit. But the second one, I felt like I really opened up and was doing what I know I can do.
How often do you go back and watch these three fights from this year and critique yourself and pick up on those little things that you're talking about right now that maybe you can do better moving forward?
Definitely leading up to another fight. So, like right now, I'm all in on next month. There's nothing going to stop me from getting the belt. I don't think anyone can in Ohio. So, I'm really watching myself, picking up things that maybe I could have threw a punch there, could have did a better combination there, and I'm using that and taking it into the gym. So I'm probably every week I'm watching all three fights and seeing what I could have did different, and then using that into the gym when I'm in my boxing, jiu-jitsu, and seeing what I could do different because I'm not going to make those mistakes again.
Once again, this is Cody the Warrior Wilson here on Forged in Ohio. All right, it's time to talk about August 17th. You're fighting Elias Leonardo at Cage Thunder 28 for the promotion's amateur featherweight title. How is this fight put together? Was the amateur title shot always up next for you?
It was always talk. I know I'm really close with everybody in the promotion, the Jarvises, everybody. So, but they were just telling me, like, we really like how you compose yourself and how professional you are. We really want to see how you do and keep getting these wins, and the belt will be definitely in your grasp. And they weren't kidding because now it's here.
So this is one of the biggest events in Cage Thunder's history. What does it mean to you to be a part of this fight night in the flats, kind of in your backyard, competing for your first MMA title?
Yeah, it being right in the backyard makes it even better. But then every day they're adding more and more fights. I thought it was probably going to be the last announcement, but then they're still adding pro fights and really stacking up this card to probably being one of the best in Ohio, probably in the last couple of years, maybe even since Stipe fought in Cleveland. I think it's really starting to be that type of card where it's one of the best Ohio's ever seen.
So what you just said and everything that I just listed off could put a lot of pressure on a fighter's shoulder. How do you think you'll feel fight week, fight night, and those moments before you make the walk on to such a big stage?
Oh, I'll be composed and comfortable. There's doesn't matter the place, doesn't matter who's around. I will always know I'm going to go in there and do my job and not going to let anything get to me.
How much would winning an amateur MMA championship mean to you?
It would mean a lot because that can just show that I will be ready for the next step when I do want to go pro, and shows I belong here. And then I plan to do my thing to defend the belt as many times as I have to until I'm able to go pro. I plan on keeping that, maybe even going to another promotion, getting another belt if I have to. But whatever I got to do until I decide to make the pro leap.
Is there a certain amount of fights in your head maybe that you want to get in and maybe test yourself against X amount of guys, X amount of styles before you make that transition to the pro ranks?
I mean, I do my homework. I do go to the other events. I see there is a lot of good guys that I see that could be potential matchups. But I'm not sure when it comes to how many fights. I definitely want to get all the work in I can and really take the amateur career serious, not just jump into something like a pro. Like, so right now, that one loss on my record, I see it all the time and I hate it because I want to get that off there. There will be no more losses after that. So definitely when I start the pro record, it's going to stay no losses. So that's my plan.
For Cage Thunder 28, what do you think of your opponent Elias Leonardo, who is 3-2 out of Canada?
I think he's young. He's definitely skilled, but just a young guy. Maybe doesn't have. Maybe he has the confidence. Maybe he doesn't. But I think watching his last couple fights, I've really been studying his too. I mean, he hasn't really won against any guys that are high caliber. I think I'm going to be really probably one of his biggest threats he's had. So we'll just hopefully he has his whole head in it, and we'll make a good matchup.
He also had a win at Cage Thunder 27. Were you impressed by his performance on that card?
Yeah, I thought he did really well. His opponent looked super confident. He was doing a lot of good movement, but he kept his cool and he did good. I think so, but that guy's not as strong as me, and I think he's gonna find that out pretty quick on the first round.
It sounds like there's no doubt in your mind that you'll become Cage Thunder's amateur featherweight champion on August 17th. But how do you get the job done on that night?
So I've really been working on my striking. I'm not just trying to work on my jiu-jitsu every day. I'm working my boxing every single day. I think it's going to be a realistic second round, not even TKO. I'm trying to actually go for the knockout and really show out on this crazy card that's going to be probably amazing nights of fights with everyone that's on it. And if I can have one of the best knockouts of the night, I think that shows that I really did deserve that belt.
How exciting is that when you imagine a fight on this stage, fighting for your first amateur title, and you're confident in the fact that you're going to put him out in the second round, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot of loved ones, friends, family there too. How excited are you actually to compete on this card?
Oh, so I have such a good support group. I think I already have 40 people coming, probably more that even bought their own tickets. So definitely ready to show out for them. I have nothing but good around me, and then that shows. And then confidence is always key.
You joked, and I don't even know if joked is the right word, but you said you could see yourself fighting 6, maybe even 7 times this year to me in an Instagram chat. August 17th is fight number 4. So could you really see yourself getting 2 to 3 more before the end of the year?
So if I go a month in between, I'm seeing it, maybe even 6. So if it's August, I don't know. I think I can get maybe 2 more in after. But then I was also thinking it would have to be I would have to defend the belt, which I'm completely fine with. I'll do it against anybody. Whoever wants to go for it, they can come try. But if anyone's willing, I'll get the fights in. But no one's willing, it's going to be kind of hard to get that many in.
I know we're probably.
So I was thinking about that yesterday.
Yeah, I know we're probably looking too far ahead, but maybe Cage Thunder 20, or I don't know what the number would be, but Cage Thunder December, Canton Civic Center, maybe a title defense on that card.
Yeah, I heard that's actually a really good venue too. I've heard a lot of good about that, and definitely wouldn't mind being on a card at that venue.
There you go, man. Overall, how has 2024 been for you from, an outsider's perspective? I know you're a business owner. Things couldn't look better for you for the MMA side of things. It seems like everything's going Cody Wilson's way in 2024.
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, everyone has their struggles. I haven't been living everything perfect, but my business is going good. I make sure no matter what, I'm always in the gym. No matter if I work a 12-day or a 5-hour day, I'm always still making sure I got the energy to go and get my training in. But then I always have to make sure you have time for family also. Got to have a good balance, and I feel like I balance it really well.
Of course. Well, hopefully the success continues for you on August 17th with an amateur championship wrapped around your waist. Before we wrap up, Cody, anything you want to shout out here at the back end of the show?
No, just want to shout out TKO Roofing. I know I just had Cage Thunder sponsor my company as well. So I'm sure being sponsored by one of the biggest promotions in Ohio, it's always a good move. So, but no, that's it. I thank you for letting me on.
Yeah, of course. Thanks again, Cody, for coming on the show. I know the timing was tricky, but it's a pleasure to have you on the show prior to your first title fight. Before I get you out of here, I enjoyed doing the OHIO chant with all guests who joined me on the show. So if you can help me out here, OH.
IO.
Thanks, Cody. I appreciate the time. I'm wishing you the best on August 17th, and we'll talk again down the road.
All right, man. Thanks, Jake.
That was Cody the Warrior Wilson, the 3-1 amateur mixed martial artist. The activity has been insane for Cody Wilson this year, and the success that's come with it has put him in a position to become an amateur MMA champion. It's also put him in a position to be this year's Ohio Amateur Fighter of the Year, maybe Ohio's breakout Amateur Fighter of the Year, and as he said, he's likely not done competing in 2024 after August 17th. Let me know who else you want to hear from on that Cage Thunder 28 card here on Forged in Ohio. You can reach out and DM me on Instagram and Facebook at Forged in Ohio. Don't forget to download episodes on your podcast platform of choice and go subscribe to the show's YouTube channel. We recently surpassed 100 subscribers, a small feat, but an accomplishment nonetheless. So thank you all for that, and thank you all for watching or tuning in to this episode. I've been your host, Jake Murren, and this was Forged in Ohio.